Good evening, everybody. Welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we code Minecraft mods live on camera. And to be fair, we usually just make something and then break it dramatically. But I have done a fair bit of stuff. Not necessarily a huge deal of stuff I can show, because a lot of it's back-end kind of stuff. I have added a couple more visual flourishes to the hives that look much nicer now. I have done a whole ton of work trying to get pacts to work, because previously they were trying to build off of the advancement system, which is fine, except that the advancement system is built specifically for advancements, and you can't have criteria that advancements use also be used directly for pacts unless you can build a significant actual, like, structure for it. So that's what I've been trying to work on. So it's not quite working, but I just sort of need to... Wait, hang on, I have the perfect, like, visual metaphor for this. It's not working yet because I need to iron out the kinks. If you're wondering why I just happen to have an iron on my desk, it is part of a sewing project, which you, if you are a patron, will get to see a bit more of on this coming Friday.
Hey, at least I've had less sugar tubes today than I have months.
I presume you mean, like, the number of months subscribed, Para? Or do you in fact mean that, like, in months? Because that would be much nicer. Yes, I'm aware that was a terrible pun, but I couldn't pass that up. That was just so, like, that was too easy. And, by the by, everybody, as I say, if you're a patron, you get to see me doing some sewing work on Friday. We are currently sitting at 17 subscribers. If we hit 20, we can have a nice little cozy sewing bonus stream with onesies and everything. But that will obviously not be the Friday one. But yeah, I done a fair bit mostly on the hive pots, and these are the storage blocks that the changelings use in their hives in order to store items that they will then later be using in rituals to grow the size of their hive, which is sort of the thing you want them to maybe not be doing, because depending on the type of hive, it can just consume the environment, and like it's not necessarily good. But that said, I did say that I have a few visual tweaks at it. So if we pop over to the world here, we are still more or less, we still have our testing thing to try and make sure that we can actually cut the lag. I'm still working on this. Flying, I think, has an idea or two about it, but for the most part, we're still tinkering to try and figure it out. But there we have, obviously, the display, and we got a couple of storage rooms in here. That's the green. We also have this one, and I've been struggling for a while now to try and figure out why I kept finding changelings stuck in this corner. It's because it thinks there's it actually thinks there's a room there, which, no, there is literally one block there. It's not even like a real one. So, glee. Don't remind you about the shareholder meeting, not gonna be there, and I'm not happy about it. You will at least get to see the VODs afterwards. Alright, that is a guarantee. But yeah, first major thing, I guess, is lot of leaves. Lot of leaves. So yeah, we have actual leaves now, not just the solid wooden kind of section, like view. So there is a lot more actual, like, visual diversity and interest in here now, which is pretty nice. We have the lights inside them as well, no longer that there's mushrooms everywhere. The amount of wood here is dependent upon the actual, like, XZ coordinates, so it is actually, like, diverse and random, and consequently it looks a lot more like we're in some kind of forest here. It's pretty nice. I like it. Most things otherwise haven't really changed, but yeah, so we got that. We've also got inert forms of both live and dead creep. Not the lights just yet, but it's gonna be something later. And these are... they function exactly like the existing creep. You can only place them where creep itself would go, but it doesn't actually tick, it doesn't spread. It can be taken over by actual hive functions, but otherwise it will not, like, interfere with your world. It doesn't even care if it's in broad daylight, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Shareholder meeting is actually on your birthday this week. Oh, grats. Yo. So yeah, today we're working on the actual storage rooms, one of which I'm currently stood in, and there's another one over there. We have got a lot more actual, like, order and organization now to how these rooms are sorted. So for storage rooms, the pots, they're not really pots, but it's the closest analogy, are stored exclusively along the circumference of the ground level, essentially. Anywhere that has, like, a walling like that. And yeah, I just made the hive, like, just undo all of its roomage whenever it tries to recalculate. Make sure I know that things are working every now and then. Yep, so as you can see, the changing comes over, and these start to spawn specifically along edges. So they try to stay outside of, like, walkways and such, so they shouldn't ever actually, like, prevent you from moving through a hive. And speaking of similar, we can see a similar thing happening with these little nests as well. So these try to make sure that there's only one nest in a 3x3 horizontal area, which then means that there is always at least a block that you can walk through between them. That's not a huge problem with them, because they're not, like, they don't stop you from walking at all, but when there's an actual egg there, they could potentially block your movement, and similar story essentially there. We're trying to make sure that the hive is potentially quite busy, but always pathable. It's always something you can actually walk through. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. And the work I have done with the pots is that they now actually have an inventory. They are a fully functioning inventory, a sided inventory, actually, which is that they can hold up to 6 stacks of items, and those items can't be extracted by players. You can't interact with this. You can't even insert anything into these. But a bit of tinkering I did today is that creep will now spawn on top of hoppers, which therefore means that the pots can be on top of hoppers, and the pots do have a bottom side that you can extract from using hoppers. So there is actually a way to sneak items out of a hive without necessarily angering anybody. You just have to be very, very sneaky about it. You have to get hoppers in the way, or anything that will, like, be able to extract from, like, the bottom side, but also count for the growth of hive, or else it just won't put a pot there, that kind of thing. But yep, so here we have just hopper lines going to all 6 of these pots, leading into this dropper, which is wired up so that it will continue to pulse as long as there's stuff inside of it. So once we get our fellows here to actually be placing stuff into the pots, they will essentially become a complete cycle. It'll just regurgitate them over and over and over. And to that end, if I don't particularly want to get rid of any of you guys, so come on, let's hop out for a moment. And that has been fully tested, by the way, so I know that works at 100%. And currently, I think it's on a mob by mob basis, so a class by class basis. So not all of the changings are able to do this, but the majority. Well, the majority can't. It's currently mostly just those guys, because I have to repeat the inventory code for all of them. But if we do this, then they get picked up, and those are now stored perfectly in this changeling's inventory. Forgive me, but I kind of need to demonstrate. And they are also dropped like that. So there's a little noise whenever they pick them up, including if they pick up only part of a stack, but should nonetheless be able to pick items up quite happily. So now we need to create an AI task that is able to say if we are carrying items and there is a storage in our parent hive that can store them, then try and store them, essentially. And from there, we'll actually have a full, like, item cycling going there. It'll be kind of handy for different kinds of storage. Now, these changelings are just picking up items. Other changelings may have other ways to get items. The most obvious of which are the villager changelings, who will take items that you give them for trade, and they'll store them as well. That's their that's the most rapid way that changelings can get items to sacrifice for rituals, is if you are trading with them. Others, such as chickens, will just store occasional eggs. Cows I haven't figured out yet. Pigs I haven't figured out yet. Pigs especially, because there is no there is no reason to keep a pig alive beyond breeding, just to get more pigs. Like, they're You generally store, like, breed pigs to kill them, which, that's gonna be unfortunate, for sure. Sheep is an obvious one. They give wool, but on the other hand, how likely are you to notice if there's, like, a piece of wool missing or something like that? If you're getting suspiciously low rates of wool generation because they're just keeping some for themselves, that sort of thing. Cows, it's difficult because there's no, like, singular milk thing. They would just have to steal your entire bucket of milk. Doesn't make any sense there. And then, of course, you also kill them for stuff. You can ride pigs, you sure can, but there's not really an item generated as a consequence of that. But yeah, so I need to figure out exactly how the individual changelings actually create items, like horses. Horses do nothing, more or less. You can use them for, like, storage, pack mules as it were, you can ride them, but they don't actually generate any items that we could think of. So, there's that. Maybe a few of these will just generate a changeling-specific item or something, like changeling resin or something, I don't know. But I need to figure out exactly how they all contribute. If they all contribute, there's a thought. Not all will necessarily have to. And then, when they have items, they'll bring them to the storage rooms. Yay! And then they'll be used in the ritual room, which we haven't implemented just yet, but it is on the docket. But anyways, so we've noted that we have pots, we've noted that we can pick up items, and now what we have to do is make our AI desk. That should be, more or less, all that we need. Hey Lance, how you doing? Lance, if you have any idea how to speed up this big, long room detection algorithm, do let me know. But okay, so we need entity changeling. Well, actually, we've got that open already. So this is all the code related to carried items. By default, a changeling can only have 4 item stacks carried, which means every single, like, item, every single, like, changeling has less potential storage space on their person than the pots. It's always beneficial then for them to store them. But we need to create ourselves a new task. So entity, AI, changeling. These are the tasks specific to changelings. Changeling, store item. What do I want to know? I've got a algorithm for detecting rooms, and it works flawlessly-ish. There's a nuance I need to figure out here or there, but it is very laggy. Like, running, it's nearly 6,000 milliseconds behind at the first room. Gets faster with every successive room, naturally, because it's working on a small selection. So essentially, I need to figure out how to detect volumes inside of a large, amorphous shape very quickly. Have I run it through a profiler? It's the loop for going through things. It has to go through it from every single individual point in order to figure out which has the largest. Okay, so we want private final world. The world. Private final entity creature, the mob, which is the entity version of our iChangeling. And private final iChangeling, the changeling. We're also going to need private final path navigate for the navigator to actually identify if we can get anywhere. And we're going to want an actual private box room, target room. Just import all of those, okay. We're not addicted line, you just haven't seen pixie sticks in years. I mean, I don't generally get, like, 30 plus of something with the first time I, like, see it in years. Although that side I do have, like, 3 boxes of Pocket in my left here, so, yeah. But yeah, Lance, there's, like, let's see, at the start of that particular test structure, Hive, there are 5,456 points. It has to check every single one of them to find the largest possible room for that. And it then goes through it again after removing the blocks that used. So it goes through that until it runs out of sufficient blocks. Which means it lags a fair bit, because it is the definition of brute force. The bags of 43? I mean, okay, so creature in... Getting highly distracted by you all. creature in instance of a changeling. And I changeling the mob. Or creature in, I guess. There you go. Otherwise, null. I don't tend to put in these particular ones. I don't tend to put consideration as to if changeling is null. That is entirely possible if you're a dum-dum and you feed a non-eye changeling creature this particular task. But what are pixie sticks? Basically tubes of sugar. That is about it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's the start. So, first the hard part. So if the changeling dot has carried items, save ourselves a nest thing, better than that. Is the check a recurring thing, or is it a one-time on-generation kind of deal? This is a recurring thing, because if you detonate parts of the hive, it needs to know what functions it needs to restore. Like, oh, you destroyed one of our ritual rooms, we'll turn this unused one into a ritual room. Or, oh, you, filled an entire corridor full of, gravel or something, we're gonna have to recalculate our, we're gonna have to rechange our layout to compensate. So it's a thing that has to keep going. It is also not a thing that can be done at generation, because these hives are built very late game at locations you have explicitly already visited. Because it wouldn't make sense to just have them in world gen late game. It's like, oh, you did a thing, and now if we go really far from the area that we're already nested in anyways, then we'll encounter them. But otherwise, if we just stay where we are, you'll never notice. It's not much of a consequence at that stage. Anyways, if we have carried items, and if changeling has parent hive, because we need to actually have a hive to go to, they've also gotten a small tub of cotton candy. If I'm addicted to anything, it's sugar. I have seen a lot of people suggest that sugar is addictive. I'm personally probably a lot more addicted to caffeine, but I kind of need it to function. Some lighter way of detecting if the general structure has changed and rerun the check. Cache the value. I mean, we do cache the value. That's how we actually have the hive operate. That's how our storage rooms get built, and our nests and such get laid out. We store the result. We still have to do the search. Let me see. So we've got the hive. Then we need to ask, does the hive have a storage room? So, look, parent hive boss equals the changeling dot get parent hive position tile entity rift changeling parent hive equals the world dot get tile entity parent hive position. I think Tile Entity Rift might actually have the store of rooms at this point. Yes, it does. Okay. Tile Entity Rift. I'm about to go searching for proof in the middle of stream. Sugar helps to change mood. Yeah, fair. Okay, if parent hive equals null, we want to actually clear that stored position because we have now identified that our hive no longer exists for whatever reason. Maybe a player sealed it, for instance. So the changeling dot set. Do I have a clear? No. Just set that to null then. And then return false because we don't have anywhere to check. Okay, next question. Does our parent hive have any storage rooms? Yep. I don't know who that streamer is, but that is cute. Okay, so is it worth? It's probably worth creating a function in Talented Rift to actually get a list of rooms of certain types. So get behavior, get possible, updates, dismantle. Add all rooms, get full list of rooms. Okay. Public list box room. Get rooms, have a room type. So, valid rooms, I guess. Don't really want to call it rooms because that'll just get confusing. Valid rooms dot add all. Nyarang.
Hug the Carol UWU.
Thank you for the 1500 bits there, Pura. Wow, thank you very much. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if Carol necessarily understands most of what I do on coding streams, but then again, most people don't anyways. So, bleh. So let's do get rooms. Is there a version of this that lets me give it a predicate? That's the question. I know there's a remove, but there isn't. It would be rather odd to me if there was not some kind of box room input to true. Just say everything. Nope. There's a remove if, but there's not an add if, which is kind of a pain. Whoops, suddenly a whole ton of things coming in. Pura understands the basics? Well, good to know. That totally counts, shush. So if room.has function and room.get function equals room type, then valid rooms and that room. There we go. That gets us a list of specific rooms that we're looking for. Alright. Pull that one. Storages equals parent hive.get rooms enum hive room storage. Understand your code, just happy you don't have to write code, at least not while watching. Fair, fair. Okay, if storages is empty, then we know for a fact that we can't possibly store anything at all, so we just don't. Okay. Next, we need to find. We need to narrow that list down to the different storages that could store our particular items. Not necessarily all of them, but at least some of them. So we need to check rooms that have pots that aren't full. So for then, trying to think here. This is gonna be quite the unwieldy should execute for what is gonna be ultimately a very simple thing, but no one else. So for box room storage and storages. For every microsecond of intelligence that an in-game entity shows, there are several hours of people specifically coding that one complex thing. Even if you're using HTN planning. How much of this is going to be messed up once the 1.14 update goes live? Basically all of it. Because they renamed everything for some godforsaken reason. They reversed half of the naming schemes, and I have no idea why. They also greatly revised how AI is done. From looks of things, they might have actually implemented sensors, which is nice, but oi. Again? Not again. I haven't checked 1.15 or 1.16. Those might be fine, relatively speaking. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot to do. Updating from 1.12 to 1.14 is a slog in a huge way. But anyways. So, we need to loop through the storage, find out if there's any empty or not yet completely filled pods. Okay. Actually, I should just call them pods, shouldn't I, instead of pots? That would probably be much like makes more sense then. But anyways, so for let's see, let's get our block position min equals storage dot min. Thank Arceus for flying. Yeah, flying. Thank Arceus that flying actually knows how to do things like patches, which is not something I was ever taught, and probably don't have time to learn. Let's be real. Nope. So we just loop through all of the positions. Relatively big, but nonetheless. Block position pos equals min dot add xyz. So that gets us everything. If the world dot get block state pos dot get block equals bo blocks dot hive pot tile entity hive pot equals the world dot get that tile entity. Okay, so that allows us to loop through every single pot in every single storage in our parent hive. Okay, now we need to ask them, could you possibly store like anything? So if pot dot is empty, so if it doesn't have any items at all, then obviously it's a useful storage that we can go for. Else, we need to get a little bit more complicated. So the pot, we've got is empty. I suppose we can ask is full, or potentially could store. Let's see, where do I put that? There we are. So if that point's empty, that's fine. If we can store some or all of it, then basically we're fine as well. The actual index, because we're not actually setting anything. And let's also have public boolean can store any so for item stack in stacks in if can store stack return true. So if not stack is empty, that also helps because it can do a lot of empties. Okay, so if pot.can store any of our changelings carried items, then same diff essentially. Either it's empty or it can store any of the items. We're using is empty there as mostly a shorthand. Saves us going through them if we don't necessarily have to. If there's no items in there, we don't have to worry about running any of those functions anyways. Okay. If useful storage is empty, return false, because we've got no storage space that we can use. Okay. So now we've got a list of useful storage rooms that we can actually go to and store our items. So, next question, which is the nearest one? For that, we need a distance sort. So if we go to Entity AI Changeling Grab Item, we also have a distance sort right here. Which is handy, because I can never remember what number means which direction in the sorting. Probably going to want to actually... Private, final, comparator, box, room, distance sort. Comparator. Okay, that's apparently I've invented something. I'm not sure exactly what a comparator would be. Like a critic that's also like an actor, maybe? Would that be a conflict of interest? There's the question. Okay, so 01.get core position. I think I can ask the mob for its distance there, can't I? Yeah, there you are. So distance from the mob to the core positions of these two places. Okay. Useful storage. Sorts according to our distance sort function. So now we have them organized by their actual range, so target room becomes useful storage. Dot get 0, the closest storage room. Right. So return target room equals null. Haha. Okay, we finally have the start of this ish. So public void start executing. We have our target room. So now we have to figure out how to get there. Obvious thing that we could just do is have the navigator just path that way. But hives aren't necessarily built for walking through. I've tried to maintain that as much as possible, but sometimes it would be like it got through a very narrow gap and there's no way a changeling could path through that, but the creep got there. And now there's these two rooms connected that have no actual traversable space between them. To fix that, these changelings can teleport. It makes sense in the lore anyways, it's fine. So, if... Well, first let's try and get a path. So, the path equals the navigator dot get path to position target room core. If the path equals null, or our distance to that position is more than say 16 blocks or so, something to that effect. Or let's see, the mob get distance to target room dot get core is greater than 16d times 16d, then teleports essentially. I want to say if I've... Right, yes. Entity changeling operate room has code for exactly this function, actually. So, there is our start. Like, most of this is pretty much identical. That would probably help quite a bit, actually. If we just, like, grab most of this, we can actually get a lot of it done. Okay, so start executing. If it's more than that distance, or we can't path to it, we teleport there. Otherwise, we start moving over to it. update the task. If we're not inside the room, we try to get a path. If we can't, and we don't have a path, we start executing again. So same thing. If we then don't have a path and we're still not in the room, then we, for whatever reason, can't get there. No idea why. At that point, we should have teleported, but you know, just in case. And the operating room just only asks if we're in the room, then we're done. But here, of course, we need to do a little bit more. So to do store items. So, okay. Next thing, our continue executing, which is mostly the same as our should continue executing right here. So what we want is the changeling.has carried items is not inside the room, and we haven't been told it is continues, such as by attempting to store our items anyways. Okay. So if we are now inside of the room, our next stop is to tell it where to put all of these items. So same scan as up here. Just change that for target room. Right there you go. So now we just want to go through our stored items and actually add them. Until such a point as we can't store. So list items stack carried items equals a changeling get carried items. Okay. So for item stack in carried items. If pot.canStore stack then I'm trying to think here. Item stacks are a bit of a headache for the most part because they're persistent global variables. If you change them on one point, they change everywhere, which is why you generally want to copy them. Stack equals pot.add item stack. So add item stack here actually returns whatever is left over. And if after that, the changeling does not have anything, and we just want to break, because we're done. In fact, at that point, we could just set discontinue to true and then be done with it. So essentially, we go through, we store any items that we could store in that pot, and then we break. If we still have more after that, then we can find a different pot. But we don't need to go through every single one of them. We just want to find the first one, really. As long as we can store any of them, we're good. Which I guess theoretically means you could create a kind of changeling-based filter. That would be strange. I don't think you can actually connect. I don't recall if you can collect a comparator signal to use that, but that'd be very interesting. So if we don't have anything left, discontinue equals true, return the. But also we discontinue anyways at the end of this because we're only looking to store it up to that point. Okay. Hey Shadow, how you doing? Okay, next job. Go to the behaviors, creature in, tasks, add task, free, because why not? New entity, AI, changeling, store item. Okay. So let's just give ourselves some sysouts here so we can actually see if this is happening. Okay, right. Let's boot her up. Let's see what we get. So we find the first empty pot or pot that can store any of our items. We dump as much of our items into there as we can. And then hopefully we're done for the most part. So these aren't meant to be big containers. They're only 6 slots. But changelings don't necessarily need all of that space anyways. Okay, give you guys full screen while I stare at the console somewhat. So none of these changelings should have any items. So we shouldn't see anything happening just yet. Let's see if they want to grab an item. There you go, okay. Next question, are you gonna store any? You might have stored them in there, come to think of it. But we didn't see anything happening in our AI task, so who knows? You can also weight them based on, like, who has the least available storage space left, that kind of thing, but, Okay. You are moving backwards and forwards, but we're not actually seeing anything going on here. Let's also chuck out a few more of these. I have a range of about 8 blocks. And they do have storage limit. And also, like, currently, they could just grab them as soon as they can. Later on, we're going to be adding that to a, we're going to be adding a degree of random to that, so that the more players are looking at them, the less likely they are to do it. But okay, looks like we don't have some function. Evidently, we're not executing. Okay. So next question. Are changelings like villagers where they'll pick up items tossed on the ground and near them? Villagers do that? I wonder where. Well, at least I don't think villagers have an actual explicit AI task for that. I think they just have, like, can pick up items, which is a common thing for most mobs. The answer is yes, but they're supposed to do it a degree more intelligently. Villagers pick up food? So let's see if it's a matter of parent hive. Because that's the first thing I can think of. Yeah, visit hive. If they haven't executed that yet, then they probably haven't gotten an actual value on it. Yeah, they need to visit the hive and then they'll actually have it. So let's update that a little bit. Because we can do that. So from there, visit hive checks for the closest actual hive. I'm trying to think here. Block plus parent equals that. If parent equals null, then we'll find one. Otherwise, return parent. In fact, we can probably just ask it, do we have a parent hive there? And then just return hive plus, I guess. There. So if we know of a hive, then we'll find one. If we don't actually have a hive, then we'll also do that. and then we just have to do that, more or less, if there's a problem with it. Okay, so now whenever they're asked if they have a hive, then they should automatically find one. Changeling has parent hive, also references that. Good, okay. Let's see if that fixes it. Let's also add a few more sysouts so we know what's going on a bit more. So system, .out, print line. Changeling has items to store. System, .out, print line. Hive has, well, Changeling has hive, I guess with the phrase. Ready to try your hand at modding to make a small mod to tame foxes in 1.14. That would be relatively straightforward. Relatively. You technically can tame them, they just don't do anything, really. Yeah, you can give them items, though, which is really cute. Okay, so system, nugget out, print line. Hive has storage rooms. Is this the code equivalent of the hives politely asking the changelings to come home and clean up their room? Not quite. It's, cleaning up their room was me getting them to intelligently know, like, where to place stuff. And even then, that was just pushing the operate button on the do stuff button on the room, which was entertaining. This is the changelings knowing that they have stuff on hand and they want to put it somewhere. So they're actually, it's more changeling interacting with hive than hive interacting with changeling. Useful storage rooms found. There. Okay. So that should give us a bunch of information about where this is getting cut out. Like, the hive isn't what's the phrase here? Reviewing the different changelings and seeing if they have any items and telling them where to go. No, this is, the changeling knows they have items, they are asking the hive for where they could put them, and then they're going to put them there. Still new to coding stuff, so I figured something like that would be easy enough. Funnily enough, the very first thing I think I programmed when I started doing Minecraft stuff was... I think it was a snowman that rapid-fired arrows or something. And there's an error. There is big error, okay. Oh. Right, because get parent hive position calls has parent hive. Right. I created a loop, everybody. Unwittingly. So I had it right the first time. Okay, well, we are near enough to my break here. Like, literal 15 seconds. So, I'll be back at the 10-minute mark, and I'll see you all momentarily. And welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left there, I made the classic rookie error of creating an infinite loop. So, hopefully fixed that part now. So, it tries to get the hive position. If it can't find one, it tries to find one to latch onto. Otherwise, it just sets its position to null, because I forgot I'd already checked if it was null. And then we return it. So, consequently, we shouldn't be in an infinite loop anymore from has parent pos checking forget parent pos. Yeah. So, to hopefully we find an answer here. I can probably still straighten that out a little bit more, but the main thing here is, can we detect if we have a parent hive? Also should mean that they're a little bit more agile in terms of figuring out, like, what hive they should be looking at, that kind of thing. And then once we've done that, we ask if it has any storage rooms, and then we filter that to storage rooms that have active spaces that we could actually put stuff, and then hopefully we navigate there and store them. Store as much of them as we can in one particular pod. Let's find out. If it crashes again instantaneously, we'll know I didn't fix that bug. Okay, I'm seeing a considerable loop here of finding the hive, has storage rooms found, has items to store, yeah. Useful storage rooms found should then lead to us actually, like, doing stuff, but evidently stuff is not getting deposited, so that's a thing that we need to fix up. So we can see down here, Changeling has items to store, has hive, has storage rooms found, Changeling has items to store. We're getting to the useful storage, we're not actually getting to the start executing part. So question, why? Because we're asking if it's null. I am an idiot. We're only triggering it if we don't have a target room, is the answer there. That's why I'm an idiot. Average down speed is 47 right now? Oh dear. So we're going through that whole list, confirming, yes, I absolutely could go to this could go to a nearby storage room and deposit my carried items. And then it was deciding that because it could, it wouldn't. In short. You know, sometimes you make the silliest of errors. Okay, seeing pathing to storage room. And interestingly, seeing a lot of seeing a lot of magenta wool here. That's interesting that we have so much magenta wool. We appear to have a duplication glitch, everybody. Because if you remember, I did not drop this much. But the fact that we're getting to there means that they're storing them in the pods and they're being siphoned out and dejected and they're picking them back up. Okay, that's good. So now we need to figure out what's going on here. Dance and spin and throw the thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's to do with our storing here. So let me see. Check our items. Then what we need to do... I'm trying to think here. How do we want to handle this? This is going to be a case of finding out how many is left and then setting that as our in our inventory. So we probably need to have an actual storage here. much like the actual pot itself, it has a set contents of given slot. So that's probably something that we want to make use of here. Public default void set item in slot int index item stack stack in. By default do nothing, and for our particular changeling over here, index stack. Okay, that should hopefully clean this up quite a bit. So the changeling dot set item in slot, we will need to come up with an index value, and that is the remainder after the pot has stored it all. There. Okay. So if not stack dot is empty, and that. Okay. So that I really hope I've gotten that direction right. That should mean that it goes through them all and just stores them. So adds them to the pots. The pot then returns whatever's left over, if anything, and then we set that into our slot in the changeling so that we shouldn't get any recurring items like that. Okay. Fingers crossed. But we know that we know the code for finding a storage room, putting the items there works. It's just that we weren't properly handling how the changeling was being notified of the changes. So hopefully that now is fine. Hopefully. Lord knows I am prone to errors, especially on this stream. And I feel like it might still be going wrong. Interesting. Hang on. Just go down here. And break that. How much is just in here? Changeling dupes harder? Maybe. Oh, okay, yeah, we did some really big duping here. Okay, it might be working, but first we're gonna have to clean out these hoppers. To be sure. Yep. Oy vey. Just, yep. Yep, so much. Criminy. Changelings use their magic to break Minecraft. Yeah. Apparently. $1,249 items so far. Why do you get the feeling that Witch would be proud of the duping? I mean, Witch went through a lot of effort to, like, duplicate stuff, and even then they did it using actual, like, in-game mechanics that were intentionally doing so. Maybe not that they intended to do so together, but... Jeebus. These are only supposed to have 6 slots. I don't know how they've managed this. feel like we've dragged a lot more than 6 times 9, 54 stacks at this point. At the very least, we're getting very close to it. Okay, I think one side is done now, at the very least. Both sides done? Yep, looks like we're getting to the bottom of this. But there's gonna be a fair bit in that middle one that I don't currently have access to. I know you're stealing and they are thwarting your plans. Hey, back from work and Billy was still going. Yay! Congrats! Well, hope you have fun, Xeno. We've created a creature that can store items. And apparently we've made them store items that don't exist. Many items that don't exist. Okay, that should be everything. So now I can put this back, go back upstairs. And give our Xeno one item. So, over here. Picks it up. Stores it. And that's good. Okay. Grand. So if we go back down, we shouldn't see another loop happening. Nope. Good. Good and glorious. Hurrah. Okay. So, we know that there are 54 slots here. I am not dropping 54 stuff, but, I'm guessing the, like, other one's in there somewhere, but, okay. So, drop, pick up. Does that change if you think he's actually full? There's the question. I mean, right now we might just be too far away. He picked up some of them, that's for sure. Let's see what happens here, everybody. Do we have a changeling-based color rainbow here, essentially? Interesting. Let's check this guy's data. Okay. Items. Hand items, nope. Armor items, nope. I don't see the tag for items, which should mean that they believe there's nothing there. Also, the world was just updating there and has now reset completely. So, hang on, if I... Blub, 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 blub. All things vanish, apparently. You didn't just pick up all of those, did you? So they're just going around fixing stuff up. Okay. Could I interest you guys in some items? Yeah, and they're stuck in that corner again because there's not actually anything there. good. Okay. We have a loop. Grand. This is exactly what we actually wanted. Well, give or take. But, you know, close enough. So they are storing them, and they are being spat back out because we're siphoning them out of the system using hoppers. Nice. I insert you in wool during these trying times. For a softer kind of world. Wool. Nice. Okay, that is working. Gonna make blankets for the eggies. Aw, that's an adorable concept. Okay, so yeah, that is working. 100%. Obviously, we now need to moderate it a little bit so that they're not just doing this in an endless loop like that. Even if you did something mean like this. Because this is objectively mean. For the changelings, this is objectively mean. Let's see, is that anything better I can do here? Probably not. What's your complaint stage? Not using something anymore. Okay. Right. So, next question. When we go to grab the items, how many players are actually looking at us? Because most creatures in Minecraft don't pick up items. So, how does it mean for the changelings? Because they're stuck in an infinite loop, essentially. Every time I try to put something into one of those pots, it just gets siphoned out and spat back out, and they then have to go pick it up because they're doing that instantaneously. It's not random. So, here is our question. How many people are looking roughly in our kind of direction? So we want to find the list of players. We want to figure out how many of those are remotely near us, and ask how many of them are looking in our rough direction. We can borrow code from Enderman, in that case. The classical, is anybody looking at me? No, kind of thing. Can't see sky, yeah, teleport randomly. Nope, not what we're looking for. What are their AI tasks? I can't remember. Place, take, look. Nope. Play Enderman sound. Screaming. Is screaming. Okay. It's probably a start here. But I don't see, like, a set screaming, surprisingly. Find player. Okay. Enderman should attack player. There we go. That's the code we're looking for. Mojang has quite a bit of fun stuff hiding in the code. Yeah. Okay. So that is our checker, essentially. That's the code that we need to check how many players are actually looking at us. So observer count equals 0 for entity player, player in players. If is observing player the mob, then observer count plus plus. And then if the mob dot get RNG. Next, int 20 plus 20 times observer count is greater than 0, return false. So before we do all of those heavy things, we ask, are there too many players looking at us for us to do this? Obviously we need to create the function of isObserving. Player can have a little scram as a threat. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Definitely be nice if any of this was just regular code you could just use in anything, but oh well. There. So, much like the Enderman, if there's a player looking in your direction, then we ask, are you in fact, it's like, so, To summarize here, what is happening is that there is a base probability of it happening at any given time, but that probability decreases for each individual player that is looking at this particular changeling. So, the more that you're staring at them, the less likely they are to actually do any of it. But if you turn away, the odds go considerably upwards. Player goes to shear sheep, hey, give me back my wool. It'd be strange to see a sheep suddenly pick up its own wool. Exactly. So if you're looking at it, it's a 1 in 40 chance. If you're not looking at it, it's a 1 in 20. And in fact, I can increase the rate at which that actually affects by just changing that number. And we can increase the like, vicinity. Nexus, this is building blocks where we're programming Minecraft mods live on camera. And, boy, do fun things happen. And by fun, we mean we generate bugs frequently. So, okay, let's have a look and see if we've managed to successfully alter... see if we managed to sufficiently break that infinite loop at the very least. There we go. Much more relaxed. Infinite changeling loop? Yeah, I guess. So if I'm staring at them, then they have a 1 in 50 chance to actually pick up an item of any kind, or even try. But if I turn away, then it's only a 1 in 20, which is much, much faster. But it's no longer just like a train of changelings getting caught up in it. As well, most of their changeling-specific tasks trigger when they're not actively, like, pathing somewhere. So that's nice. Another thing that we can do is ask if the changeling in question actually has a designated room. Most don't, or at least these guys don't. There are other ones that are, I want to hang out in this particular room and not leave it, that kind of thing. Then we can actually change their variables and then make sure that they never leave that room, just for any minor reason. So, should execute. The hives look so good. Yeah, I love them. Like, there's so much that's gone into this. These are probably the most complicated blocks I have ever made on client side, at the very least. Like, there is also, you might notice there is some subtle color variation to these leaves that is intentional, gives them a bit more depth. So the hives are so pretty, I can't wait to build a base in one. I think you have that backwards. They will build a hive in your base. But yeah, so they are picking them up, they are storing them, and from there we were actually able to retrieve them, steal them, as it were. You guys got any more of those? You guys get any of those blocks? Oh, and the creep has grown back over top of that, so that's fine. We expected as much. So yeah, nice. Okay. Next thing we could do with is actually showing the items inside of the pods so you know what's gone where. It'll also be useful for us to have like an actual idea of where it is. So, next job. Tile, entity, hive pot, or is it tile entity hive pot renderer is what we need to add, that's it. Because Mojang could never possibly be consistent with their naming schemes. Okay, so that's just there. Lickety split. Can anybody think of a vanilla tile entity that displays a, like, item of any kind? Because I can only think of item frames and armor stands, and both of those are entities. Cool, changing roommates if it comes with rad aspect stuff. Fair! Fair. A lot of people are pretty comfortable with that. But of course, we're getting accustomed to them with their, like, natural appearance. Dragon crystals? Nope. Those are 100% entities. Isn't this a problem we had before? Yeah, I feel like it. Have some 112 code that does it. Big locks. Big locks do it. Okay, yes. Big locks are our like item-based combination lock, so we can use those. We've done this before. Hooray! Okay. So if we got our render item, we're gonna need that. We're not necessarily gonna really need our position there. If the tile dot is empty, then return. Otherwise, for the tile, well, we need item stack, don't we? Item stack, stack in the tile dot get items. Don't have a face, because he's only go one way. For right now, let's see, we've only got 6 slots. How do I want to arrange these? I could just do it randomly for all of them. That would be a nice little bit of variation. Just stick them however I want to go for right now. Okay, that's fine. And we'll get rid of that for the moment. Only thing you know is crystal chests from iron chests? Yeah. Para, what did you do? Okay, so that's real quick and dirty, and it will not do the job properly, but it should be fine for right now. Meanwhile, if the changeling equals null, or the changeling dot, let's see, room, get homeroom does not equal null, or the changeling dot get homeroom doesn't equal enum-hiveroom.none, which is essentially an empty one. There. So that should mean that if when we add one particular kind of changeling, which is known as a broodbringer, it won't pick up items and go and store them natively at the very least, thereby abandoning the hatchery that it's supposed to be guarding. Okay, next stop, client proxy. Because there's, let's see, where are you binding? There we are. Client registry, bind tile entity, hive pot dot class new tile entity hive pot renderer. That should now mean that when we actually store stuff in there, we actually get visible stuff. Should, being the operative word. Para, did you give monies? So we know the items are there because they're being siphoned out by the hoppers. We know the items are being picked up because they're disappearing from the world and we're hearing like the schlup sound. And we know the items are seemingly being deposited, so now I actually get to see if we can see them. When they're not, like, dragged out by our system. Come along now, guys. Yeah. No? Nobody? Okay, fine. Oh look, it's right there. I'm not even staring at it in the slightest bit. Disobedient little so-and-sos. Okay, let me check my code, see if I haven't broken something there. Collective Defiant Screech. Never know, I might have. I feel like they're currently reconstituting the hive. Nope, they're moving. They're fine. They have to be within 1.5 blocks, and by the way, they have to be within 8 blocks to actually detect the dropped item. But only 1.5 to pick them up, which is more or less on par with players. Come on. I know you guys can do this. I'm fully aware that you guys can do this. Fine, I'll check the code. If that's what you want, I'll check the code. Yeah, get hive room by default to null. Gotcha. Good. I need you guys to put stuff in these spots so that I can actually see them, because I can't interact with them like that. Players aren't supposed to do that. So if the changeling equals null, or the changeling has a homeroom that isn't none, then return false. That should be fine. He said before it broke things inevitably. Maybe I should turn off the RNG just to make them a bit more reliable for testing. So yeah, if you get like your mate along to try and like stare directly at this one like villager, I guess, or something, so that you can both keep an eye on it at all times, you're very unlikely to actually spot them picking up items. That's the idea. Now there's a possibility that this won't work, for reasons that I can probably guess, but we will only find out if and when they actually pick up an item. There we go. And indeed, I saw nothing. I saw no item. Which could mean exactly what I think is happening is happening. And it is almost assuredly not simply that we have things being rendered where they shouldn't be, so, right. Yeah, so they are trying, they are putting them in there, good. But what's happening is that we're not actually alerting the player that the pot has changed its inventory. So, at these points, essentially, we need to mark it as dirty. And tile entity mixer is a good example of that. So, if we go to, where are you? Can work, get slot, smart dirty, there we are. So basically, the data is on the server side, and it's working fine. But that data isn't being sent over to the player because there's nothing tells it should be. Consequently, the players aren't actually getting any kind of update packet to change their client-side view of what's in that, of what is actually inside of that, of what is inside that pot. So we need to do that. And all of that should be fine. Okay. Good, that is pointing to the right thing. So, now we just have to say, where are we marking it dirty? I can change that to set item in slot. Is that what it's called? Or did I misname it? Probably misnamed it. Set stack in slot? Get stack? You gotta be here somewhere, surely. Set inventory slot contents. There we are. What flavor of pot of cotton candy do I like? I've never really understood them to have flavors. Is the main thing. They just taste like sugar to me. Okay, so every time we do that, we just set it to mark 30. Good. Let's see. That should get most operations. Is there anywhere else? Decrement stack size. I don't think that's used very much, but just in case, let's add that. And remove stack from slot. Let's also get that. That should cover basically everything. Except for right there, we probably want to mark that as well. Okay. That should now mean that we actually, no matter which one it goes into, where it comes from, it should always actually, like, be able to show us. Blue has a definitive blue raspberry taste to it. You might be eating significantly a more higher class cotton candy than I have ever had, per. Dollar store stuff? I mean, maybe. We don't have dollar stores, but we have Poundland. There we go. We got it, everybody. Immediately. And I'm not really doing any sorting here. They're just putting it in whichever one will do first. But, nice. And I want to say there is definite delay because that magenta is presumably still inside one of these. Yeah, it's in here. It's not actually there. So I need to fix that up. But that is good. That is progress. So there is a point where we should be marking dirty that we're not currently marking dirty. Okay. Get slots, that's custom, get field, set field, item valids, usable. Oh, I think I see what's happening. Okay, so it's marking it as dirty before it gets taken out. That's why. Right. So we need to actually store that, mark the dirty, and then return it. And that should clean that up. So, item stack decreased equals item stack helper. Get and split. Items index count. It's very straightforward there. Okay. That should now mean that it's all good. Should, being the operative term. And then we can change up the scale, move them around, that kind of thing. Add a little bit of wiggle if we like, so that there's floating around in there. Currently they're also using like a slime block as their like container space. I actually want to change that to be a bit more like a water droplet, that kind of thing. So it's less slime and such a more, this is a liquid, for some reason. Add a bit more, add a bit, nice little bit of blue to the environment, that kind of thing. Okay, anybody wanna grab this blue? Anybody? Okay, there you go. I think. Ah, still not doing the trick. Interesting. Well, you came over here for a reason, kiddo. How many of you are over here? Just the one. Okay. Yeah, so it's still not quite working. Because it's right here. That's where that wool is. We haven't quite got parity just yet. I got you blue. Okay, so what then? There must be some point here where we are setting the contents, but we're not actually... Like, there must be some point here where it's actually getting something, but it's not actually grabbing it. Looking up that hole might be beneficial for the picture. I mean, true, but I need to also find out why that's happening. Like, I know they keep getting stuck there. What I need to figure out is why. Why does the room detection algorithm mark there as a room there? Okay, let's check tile entity hopper and see if we can find out what function it's using there. So let's see, update hopper. Is right here, pull items. If it's not full, that's what we're looking for. Extraction hook, yep. If it's not empty, if it's an instance of cited inventory, get slots, pull item from slot. Can extract from slot. Put stack in inventory all slots. Wait, hang on, we had something else there, didn't we? Inventory in, decrease stack size, index 1. Didn't we already have that, though? I swear we'd just already done that. Yeah, right there. Interesting. I wonder if I missed something here. Like, this is only actually marking dirty in one place, which is very interesting. It's just set inventory slot contents. So there's the inventory. Inventory set inventory slot contents. Okay, so it's calling that, which is the major thing that we actually need to be worried about. We actually don't need to worry about this at all. As long as we do it in the set inventory slot contents, it should be fine. Enable you into playing Minecraft after strip. Let's check our mixer, see what happens with that. If not, flag stack is empty, stack is item equal, our tag is equal, contain item stack, skip count, yada 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 yada. Should still mark it as dirty then. Okay. And that is the one that's being called by tile entity hopper. So we go to there. Yep, absolutely is. Okay. The only thing I can think of is if that's not calling the right mark dirty, but it does appear to be doing so. Very curious. Is there anything that actually interacts directly with items other than right there? Anything that shouldn't be, anyways. Those are fine, those are fine. That's fine and good, yep. It's a private value, so it shouldn't be getting anywhere else. That should all be good. I'm not sure why it isn't. In before you missed a single car. I don't think that'll be it. Like, we know it's adding it, but it's not removing it, which is the weird part. Every time something, when it's added by the changeling, it clearly updates properly. When it's subtracted from, when it's like extracted from by the hopper, it's not, which is the weird part. Sometimes bugs happen because of a single missing thing. Most of the time, in fact. Sometimes they happen because live actual bugs got into the machinery and aren't quite so live anymore. Okay, so we've got our console open over here, so when somebody comes over and grabs this thing... There we go, updating pot inventory, okay. But I don't see a second one, that's interesting. Because we should also get that when the slot is pulled out of by the hopper. Very strange. One little curly bracket can break very big things, yes, but usually it screams very loudly when that's the cause. Yeah, what's happening right now is that changing's getting called back and forth because the rooms think they have, like, places to put new pots, but they actually don't. I need to add in a check to see, should we, I need to check it, add a check for, can I build anything? If so, don't call somebody to try and build a thing. That's what's happening. Because they're trying to build it along the entire circumference, but of course there's nothing along this edge that it could place a pod. Okay, so we know... We know that this magenta wall is in fact inside of the dropper under there. It's right there. Or I thought it was. That's interesting. Look at that. We're trying to... Oh, right, of course. I'm in... I was about to say, oh, that's weird. Maybe it's like a phantom. No, that's actually just functioning perfectly because I'm in spectator mode. Oy vey. Okay. Right, well, I can check a bit more clearly here. Yeah, there we go. I am a dingus. But yeah, it's there despite the fact that we know it's there. That's the weird part. Well, it's there despite the fact that we know it's not there. So why is the hopper not alerting it and causing it to change? That's our question. When the code is ripped almost identically from the mixer. And that's only called there. Okay. What about our pots? Does our pot do the same place? It also gets called there, but that's where our changelings set it up. Consistency. There shouldn't be any distinction here as well. It should all be the same. Is it possible mixers are tickable? I wonder if that's it. It's probably not it, but maybe. Sticks? Oh yes, back in 10 everybody.
Player has joined the game.
And welcome back everybody to our final hour of the evening, and we are currently attempting to firstly figure out why we're not seeing stuff when we should absolutely be seeing stuff. I'm just editing this very slightly so that every time it adds a new item to be rendered, it shuts them up a little bit so we can definitely distinguish if there is more than one item there. But obviously we need to try and figure out why we're not seeing anything. Now, if the tile is actually registering as empty, then we shouldn't be seeing anything rendered, period. It should only be rendering the magenta wall that we keep seeing if that magenta wall is actually registered in the item list. Obviously, that's not necessarily 100% working, so that's something that we need to try and figure out. because we should be seeing all of that stuff no problem here. The only thing I can think of is maybe the mixer stores it differently? But if that was the case, then it shouldn't be... if that was the case, it shouldn't be having trouble actually identifying that. That's the weirdness. Yeah, that appears to be functionally identical, so I don't know if that's the problem. But let's at least see if shunting things upwards gives us a bit more of a clue. And I will also go under and put, like, a, what's the phrase here? I'll also go down there and I will also actually add, like, a lever or something just to switch off the hopper. But yeah, if you wanted to have changelings work like harvesters, I guess, break things to blocks and then just add a whole ton of hoppers underneath where the pods are in their storage room. Job done. Of course, you do have to be careful about that, because if it backs up, then you'll just fill up their storage room for them, and then they'll start actually, like, grabbing stuff and putting it into the rituals and growing their hive even more. Okay, so that's the one we want. I heard the old man say, "Leave her, Johnny." What are you referring to there, Pearl? Okay. So it shouldn't be leaving now. Oh, the song is "Leave Her, Johnny." Oh, right, yeah. Oh, picked up. Stored. Okay. If I add another one to the mix, or another few to the mix. Interesting. Oh, did I make that go backwards? Is it still in? Interesting, interesting. Okay. That is only showing one at a time. Why is that only showing one at a time? That indicates that it's only got one at a time. But it's not here. And I bet you if I flip the switch there, we'll see all of them come out. Yeah, so let's flip the switch and see what happens. So they are all in there, but we're only actually rendering one of them for some reason. Very curious. Okay, that does give us slightly more information than we had. And it still hasn't updated when we extracted all those items. Very interesting. So it only ever thinks it has one item. Or at least the one that we see, like, displayed only seems to ever have one item. Okay. This isn't a tickable, it's not updating anything. We check tile entity chest. You are a tickable. Which means you have an update. What do you do with your update? You just mostly update client-side stuff for the most part. I wonder. Hang on, that's 4 of those, separate to when that happened, so it did actually mark it as dirty that time. But the items that it had weren't the correct items. At a guess. Or did I do it wrong and it was just always overlapping them? There's another question.
Quite possibly, quite possibly.
If we plonk that there, we should find out. So every time it goes, shunts it up another bit. Or actually, I can do this better. Okay, so it goes through them. Every time it goes to the new one, it should shunt it up in a section. Should, being the operative word. I should have used multiple different kinds of item, really, shouldn't I? Ugh. You know, it's a bewildering problem when I break out the Pocky. There you go, you've got plenty of options. There we go, okay. So we are seeing them backed up, that's good. That means we're seeing... We are getting the full contents, we're just not updating properly for some reason. You okay up there? Are you stuck in the loop with that room again? Okay. So that's good. That means we, client side, do have the full information. And we are seeing all of it marked properly inside the console. So the only thing next is to figure out why it's not necessarily updating properly elsewhere. Okay, right. Our nice little stack of wool here. So if we exit out of this and then come back, we will find out whether it was properly written to the data. And that might be why it's not quite updating properly. Emphasis on might. Okay, that's positive at the very least. So next. Five of that, okay. Pot got marked dirty each time, good. But we didn't see this get updated, so something's gone wrong here. How can we get it to be set every time that we see that, and yet not otherwise? That is the conundrum. I think the only meaningful difference I can think of is that we're not clearing the list when it's red, which might mean that the item stack helper function actually just skips over anything that's empty. That could be it. That could be the problem. That's about the only thing left that I could think could be the problem. Because now we can verify it is actually being properly marked. Like down there, that's all from the helper. So we clear, which just goes through, sets all of them to empty like that. Which we can probably stand to just, I don't know, we'll find out. We'll see if that works at all. You know, that's working just fine. know, that's working just fine. That was what was telling us exactly where things were. But I didn't like magenta, but got it, yeah. Adding the randomness to it makes them seem a lot more discerning, but yeah, that was like the last remaining distinction there. Was whether we emptied it out first. So let's find out if that was the problem. Might well be the problem, in which case it was weird, but So just while that's booting up, I'll have a quick look over here and see if it does skip over any that are empty. Yeah, the saver actually skips over empties. That might have been the issue. Well, way to find out. Remember the first time I saw something that wasn't a city, huge open fields are so mesmerizing? I mean, we had those everywhere here. That's not dreadfully unusual to an Englishman at the very least. You don't have to drive very far in England to get to somewhere that's big open fields. Is that on? Yes. Okay, so it won't extract. That was the wrong direction. Well done, me. Okay, as long as I'm not looking, you should get a bit more to work. You live in Denver, there's no place here without buildings. Fair. Just gonna try not to stare in their direction, and I should hopefully grab these. Oh yeah, what do people think of the floor, by the way? I changed around how the, like, lumps were. I think I need to tweak the texturing on them a little bit, but, I think it looks considerably nicer than it previously did. It's got a lot more texture to it. So once I've gotten all of these loaded in, we will see how it does. Can't drive very far in England. I think Marsh calculated that it would take 8 hours by car to get from one side to the other. One side? Sure. Did I only drop 4? I feel like I dropped 5. But did one of them despawn? I guess that's a possibility. So the actual, like, max range of a hive is dependent upon its size. They will start initially at size 1. If a pair of rifts are generated too close together, they'll merge, become one, of much larger size. And from there, that controls how far the creep can spread and still be supported. It controls how far the volumes are calculated, that kind of thing. And consequently, there's a limit to how big a hive can be. What happens after that, though, is that changelings will find various ways to collect items, and then they will store them, and then they will take them to a special ritual room where they'll perform a nice little animation. And there's a chance, it is RNG, it's not every single time, because that would be very fast. Each time that they successfully complete a ritual, that it will increase the scale of the hive by 1. This then means that hives that have creatures that are more able to actually gather items, be that villagers that you happen to like or that kind of thing, are significantly more likely to grow in size quite rapidly. But anyways, that's why we're going through this whole rigmarole. So we got that. Let's try and see what happens. So that's all of them right there. And it's empty! Okay, that was literally the one thing. Yeah, the creep looks nice. Good to know. Good to know. I put a fair bit of effort into making this place look nice. Okay. So there we have it. Okay. And now it's not really able to store them. Okay, next thing I think we need to do is add a discriminator to these rooms to check whether they can find anywhere to actually place the stuff that they're asking to place. Because right now we've just got some endless loops here, which make it look a bit busier, but I feel like we need to give a little bit of screw. Bit of a rest to this poor guy. This one poor changeling is going back and forth every single time. But okay, we got that working. Obviously, I need to change up how the render it works so that it actually displays the natural water globule that we can see through and that kind of thing, and puts the items in there a bit more varied and like nicely. But for right now, that's fine. Okay, hive room behaviors. So these are what define how everything wants to work. And obviously we saw there that the storage room was having trouble actually identifying that it couldn't place anything, so we need to actually check. So let's get ourselves a list of block positions, valid positions, or valid pot positions, I guess. And for that we need box room and a world. So there's the function. There's it getting a target position. We want to go through all of the positions available. So let's see, that should be 4. Well, we need a list, obviously. So 4. Int x equals 0, x is lower than the room's size on that angle, which is always at least 1, that's fine. X plus plus. Int y equals 0, y is lower than room size y. We ordinarily don't really have to worry about the vertical because it checks for whether it has a downward, but in this case we just have a room that's very flat. It may well be that your rooms don't end up quite that flat, for instance if it's taken over a dungeon, which is now something it can actually do, so we want to actually make sure that we're a little bit more discerning that way. So instead of just checking for that, we just want to actually use the points that we have, go through the whole thing and find them all. In that case, actually break is correct there. Valid positions dot add random point. Busy bee like thing, I guess. Yeah, like having them do that is fine, except that they should only really be going to rooms that actually can do stuff right now. So if it is hive creep and it can connect downwards, then we check for a face of any kind. Okay, alright. So, let's go up to here. So if we find all of that and we discover that there's not enough, then we also want to ask is not valid pot positions room world in dot is empty. So if there exist places we could put them, then the next thing is we can actually simplify this quite happily. So list of block positions valid positions equals valid pot positions room world in. And then we don't have to have this loop in here, although we then have to substitute it for like 3 of them, but never mind. So if valid positions dot is empty, just return otherwise target position. So valid positions dot get a 0. Or rand.nextInt valid positions.size just to keep it a little bit more random. There. You have returned with foods? Ooh, guts. There. Okay. So that should now mean that we don't have them constantly batting between those 2 storage rooms. And then we can do something similar for the eggs, but the eggs aren't as big a concern. Because the eggs are... let me see. The eggs actually have, like, a value, which is 1/9 of the horizontal footprint. Because they take up 9 blocks each. Obviously, that's not necessarily, like, because the position there is still random, it might still end up having leftover spots, but most of the times the eggs are fine. It's the storage pods that we need to worry about. Okay, so now our changeling should have a bit more free time. Because the storage is very much an inert thing. It only really has to worry about when it's being initially put together. And is now the... Okay, no, you're just visiting the hive. Okay, good. I said 1/9 is one... Yes, there is 1 knife per egg slot. Changelings can have 1 knife as a treat. Here. Good. Hooray. So again, they're selecting the closest one. Hence that one went over to here, and those ones went over to there. So now only one of these is a troll room. Okay, so I just want to get rid of these entirely. That's the question. If I get rid of them, the room will break, so I shouldn't. There. Not the tidiest ever, but should be fine. So yeah, there might still be a problem with those hatcheries, but it should be fine. Evidently, at least one of these is still switched on. Oh, is it literally just this one? Is it literally this one? Yes, that one. Must be turned on. Iron blocks and a Fey hive? I mean, yes. But in fairness, this wasn't built as a Fey hive. This was built as a test structure. Like, this might be something people would actually build. Another thing we could check for is if, like, currently they just place it to the, like, the first one they find, which is the negatives, double negatives, negative X, negative Z. So they fill that one up first, which means it's predictable which ones they'll go to, which is, don't know if I'm necessarily happy with that. Like, having them actually sort it would be heavy, but nice. Anyways, let's give them some more colors, shall we? We don't have a lime, that I can see anyways. Next test, will they actually go to a different one, or will they always recognize that one? That doesn't look good. That looks like they're still storing it in here. Do iron golems attack changelings? No, they don't. Because they're registered as changelings. And anything that detects things anything that like affects changelings affects changeling villagers. Sorry, I'm getting that really mixed up. Anything that targets villagers will target changeling villagers, and vice versa. Okay, no, actually, seem to have ended up there. I think that's fine. Yeah, that looks okay. Hurrah! But yeah, you can see that it's predictable where they're gonna put it. That's not necessarily good. Didn't think they would because of that reason. Yeah. Pig changelings count as pigs. Cow changelings count as cows. All sorts and all sorts. So there shouldn't be a problem like that. So unless it specifically attacks the thing that they're disguised as, or changelings, it'll be fine. Okay, yep. So, blip, blip, blip. It is doing exactly what I predicted it would do, which is good that my prediction was accurate. Bad that they're doing the thing I'd rather prefer them not to. With the golems attack lightlings. For those of you who are not in the Discord, which WooBot keeps posting links to, the lightling is the sort of counterpart to the changeling for one of the other archfey that's going to be in development, which is the Kirin, who also has a pact associated with them and all sorts, and also has an endgame, which is the lightlings, which are itty-bitty little lightning creatures. So would iron golems attack lightlings? I don't know yet. Like, I know that they have a zappy attack, and presumably if you are a warlock of the Kirin, then you will be healed by lightning more than damaged. But I don't know. I feel like lightlings should also definitely be damaged by water. That's an obvious one. Just take like a bunch of cliches and jokes from like Minecraft the hard way and just build them into a creature. Want a pet lightling? Again, they're extremely initial, so I don't know very much about them as yet. But yeah, here's a fun idea. So yeah, how do we want to change this up? Because again, I don't really want them to be full. They should prioritize ones that have space but are also the most full. But beyond that, they should try and pick random ones. Or just not quite this orderly. Love the lightlings, soot sprites. Yeah, that's fine. That I can do. That's fairly easy. Whether they should have legs or not is then the next question, because soot sprites in My Neighbor Totoro don't have legs. They don't have limbs. They're just orbs of eyes. But soot sprites in Spirited Away do. They have little grabby hands. So it's a question of like, do I want them to be round with legs or just round? Do I even want to model them as round, or do I want to just have them as like an item that's just constantly a sprite that's always facing it? Is that all the colors of the rainbow there? I feel like we're missing one. Am I missing orange? No, orange is over here. That's fine. Okay. Same for the wisps from Lycanites? I haven't seen that. I wouldn't know. Chuck some ores in there. Little guy with leggies. They have to have multiple eyes? True that, yes. Maybe they can have a variable number of eyes. Some of them have 1, others have 6, that kind of thing. Maybe a lightling with only 2 eyes is actually a rarity. There's an entertaining concept. Should it play a noise when they store it? There's a question for you. Because I can absolutely make a noise when they store the item. Like, pop, 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 that kind of thing. What do we think? Oops, all eyes? Yeah. God, you could end up having, like, if they don't have leggies, then they might end up looking like the dwarf in the flask. There's an idea. An idea. Okay, well, let's port some stuff to the storage room, well, the hatchery, so it does the same thing as the storage room. So yeah, we just have that discriminator this time around. It's pretty easy. And then instead of that, we just do the same thing our storage just does now. There. So it still randomly selects them, and it will actually get every single point that it could be, so yeah. What would the Lightlings even do? Changelings build hives and do rituals. Lightlings might be aggressive to anybody that tries to, like, chop down trees. Because, in the vague lore, the vague ancient lore, in fact, of various oddities, the Kirin is the archfey of the forests. Lightning and the forests, to be exact. And they're the ones that imprisoned the witch in the forest way back when, which the witch is then trying to use you as a warlock to try and escape. And essentially, the whole encapsulation of the Kirin, indeed, Shadow, you have it right there, is don't mess up the forest. So if you do start chopping down trees once you've hit endgame in the Kirin pact, then you might get attacked by lightlings, and they deal lightning damage. So, good luck. Don't know if that'll happen every single, like, block of log you try to do. If you carry an axe, you're dead. If you carry an axe, you take extra damage. How's that? But yeah, like, otherwise, they might just be happy, friendly little fellows and such. Although what exactly they do, I don't know yet. Their concept came to me in a flash, like, yesterday. So they're not very heavily developed. Would changelings and lightlings fight? Absolutely! That seems like a very obvious thing. Like, for one thing, the lightlings know what the changelings are. Because A, they're both Fae, and B, they know about, they go way back. Okay, so that should now mean that well, not quite yet. And not valid nest positions room built in dot is empty. There. That should now mean that the nest also, well, the hatchery also doesn't send out superfluous requests. Okay, right. Nice. Oh, most overplayers. Oh, wow, hey, what a cool mod. Lying fanbase. Free the witch. I still can't believe it's taken me this many years of doing these streams for me to finally sit down against a complex issue in the code and say the words, what if we reduced it to a series of blocks? Can you put a lightling in a jar and make lamps? That seems like an obvious thing you should be able to do, yeah. Maybe that'd be like, cow in a bottle style. So you have to, like, you have to put down a bottle, get the lightning on top, drop an anvil. But, okay, our changelings should have a lot more time now. Particularly because that room can't place anything. So, they should be able to wander. Anybody over here? No, good. Where is everybody? I only see one of you. Will there be little things through the pack to learn the background of the witch and Kirin? That is the idea. The idea of the packs, at least the default ones that come with the mod, because you can customize them however you like, is they're meant to be telling a story. So, you start out with, like, the witch giving you, like, here is a, like, spell that creates a whole ton of webs. Here is, a spell that lets you walk on water or whatever. And then gradually you start noticing that it's making you move faster or teleporting you. That kind of thing. Like, maybe one of the early ones it can do is surround you in brambles, that sort of thing. But then later on it's like teleportation. So it's like, I started out learning things from the witch that helped me to imprison people, and now I'm freely moving wherever the heck I want to go. Attempts to make a monster villainous character, also lying makes said villainous character hug the dog. I don't follow you there, Per. But yeah, like, you'll be able to customize the pacts however you like, so you can change them up, you can remove them all together if you like, but by default, their design is that they'll tell a story. So then, of course, once you get to the end of the Witch Pact, you hit the end-game consequence of that particular pact. Not all of them will have such a thing, but a lot of them, because that's a nice feature. And that will also be customizable as well, so if you wanted, you can have the Witch's Pact give the Kieran's endgame feature or whatever. But once you do that, the Witch has effectively been released, the rifts open throughout the overworld or wherever, and the changelings come out, and occasionally the Witch pops out too. That kind of thing. Which is a sympathetic villain. I suppose in relation to which it would be either hug the child or hug the Eldritch Abomination. Yeah, I feel like a lightling in a jar should be a thing. I don't know necessarily if they'll enjoy that, but that should definitely be a thing. Catch lightning in a bottle. But okay, so the last thing we can do is shake this up a bit, so that things aren't just rendering in neat little columns above everywhere there. So, for that, tile entity hive plot renderer. So we want to start by getting actual RNG here, so that it's distinct for every single one of them. Can you persuade them, give them treats to stay in the jar? Rudy is just baby? Yeah, Rudy is very much baby. So random rand equals new random. The tile get worlds dot get seed plus math dot pow x y and z. I'll just go with x and y for the time being. Okay. So that's the part that currently moves them up and around. We don't want that for this. So we've got our baseline point, which is dead middle, and we want to move that around. So GL state manager translate rand.next double minus 0.5d, and basically that 3 times over, which will give us an offset of half a block in all directions per like specific to each individual one. We do not care in this case if it indeed is what's your problem there? Oh, yeah. We do not care in this process if a given thing is empty, because we're just going to go back to the 0 anyways. Okay. See how that does. We probably want to make these smaller as well, because it's pretty small. What do lightlings eat? Static, like joltic, lightning, electricity. I mean, the changelings don't eat, but the changelings are fey. I found an unintentional thing if by progressing enough with the witch to gain speed teleportation are able to catch up to lightlings easier. Apex predator. Okay. Good starts. Except that it's changing. Oh, is that because of where I am? I wonder. Yes, it's because that's not the coordinates for the tile. That's the coordinates for me. Okay, well, we know that, but at least we have a decent start on this. Okay. For pig, they could end up getting carrots, like when the player is doing a mass breeding, the pig could grab a carrot since it's not like you would notice. True, but if you only have the 2 pigs and one of them's a pig changeling, you will notice that they don't start breeding. Okay, and let's change the scale down to just a bit more than that, and let's actually have ourselves a scale value here. So we currently go half a block out. We want to be much smaller than that. We want to be maybe a third. And if we wanted to be a bit more discerning, we can even tell it to be a certain, like, as sort of shifted up a certain Y. For right now, that'll do. Fun that you can make it do that, though. Yeah, that's a little weirder than I would like, but yeah. What I can also do after that, once I've gotten these positions, which are now specific to each pot, I can apply a, like, time-related, like, shutter to them, so they all, like, shift around inside of it. Or if they take the carrot but don't eat it and breed anyways. Problem, how many times do you murder pigs? Because that's the only thing you can get out of them. Okay, much better. Much better. Like, yeah, look at that. That's pretty good. I know Sakura would ask too, but can we have puppy changelings? So, wolf changeling? Wolf changelings are definitely possible. I don't know if I necessarily like the implication that you can tame them, but yes, you can. That is entirely possible. But what do we get out of dogs? Is the question. Like, I guess you feed them rotten flesh or whatever, you feed them bones. And that's not nothing, but also how often do you do that? Especially if you are a responsible puppy carer. Okay, just gonna go to the model for the pods. And remove the slime part here. Because that's my next thing I need to do. Now I need to remember how to comment. I know there are ways to have comments here, but I can never remember what they are. There you are. Probably easier to read this a different way. One moment. Okay. Refresh that. Refresh the assets here. And we should see our things floating about. Nice. Huzzah and jubilation. So now all I need to do is add a little bit of a shutter and also a rendered, like, I guess, block of water or something that ideally is semi-transparent, and it should be good. Okay, so a little bit of a shutter, let's add it. So Bob, I guess, Bob X. That probably doesn't want to be like that. We actually want to use sign tile get world.total-time plus around.nextLong, so that they're all individual, times 0.1d. So go very far. GL state manager translate Bob X, Bob Y, Bob Z. There we go. Bob Z the cat. And that should now mean they all have individual points that they start with. Like, they all start at the middle, and then they add that next long, which should mean that they are going to shift around a fair bit, but they'll then just, like, start bobbing about. That's exactly what we're looking for. Caught myself making the little noises I do. I'm so sorry. You know that there are players who would have the puppies just to have them? True. I think I've noticed I do tend to imitate noises of people I watch, often blame it on the autism. I don't know why I do it. A lengthy childhood spent alone, perhaps, I don't know. Not sorry at all? Nope, not in the least. Okay, we moving? We wiggling? I can't tell if they're wiggling. They do seem to be shifting about, judging by that. Just not as much as I'd like. I wonder if it's... I wonder if it's a scale thing. Also, they appear to be shuffling quite a bit, yeah. They are moving around a central point. But... yeah, it might be too fast, I'm not sure. Or it just might be too small a point, I'm not sure. Let's try slowing it down a bit. And let's see, 19, 23, and 22. Just so that there's some variety there. Me with the return / haunting. A fun little thing as well, if you are a patron, then one of the things we'll be doing this month is filming some pickup shots for the haunting. And then showing how replay mod turns raw footage into actual, like, shots that we can then actually, like, edit together and stuff. No, still not bobbing. Interesting. They should be bobbing. I hate graphics programming. I'm terrible at graphics programming. For those of you who don't know, I do actually have a degree, a bachelor's degree in programming and such, but there was one thing that very, very, very nearly cost me my entire degree, and it was graphics programming, because for whatever reason, I can do all of this, but graphics I cannot. I don't know why, it just does not work in my head for some reason. But anyways, that is all that I've got for you today. Hope you enjoyed. That was quite a bit of fun there. We had some nice bugs, as ever. The next stream I have is, of course, tomorrow at 7. We have some Dungeons & Dragon Hat 2nd campaign, where I get to be our wonderful future-seeing robot friend. And then on Thursday at 9, we have some Monster Hunter World. And on Friday at 9, we are continuing on with Vampire, second stream of that. And we have some more Dungeons & Dragons at 7 on Saturday, followed by the Carousel, playing random games at 9. We'll be back for more of this on Tuesday at 9. Meanwhile, I do make videos over at youtube.com/comic. A new fresh one came out today. It was Dailies by Daylight. And everything I do, seriously, legit everything I'm able to do is because of everybody like you over at Patreon at patreon.com/lying. If you have even as little as $1, you can chuck that in on a monthly basis and really help me out. Honestly, literally every single bit helps. Times are hard, and they're probably gonna get harder, but you guys make it very tremendously bearable, and you allow me to do stuff like this on the regular and such. Other than that, though, I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.